don't have to read this.
So it's just for your information for you to see. That's what will be put out. Heather will talk about it when she gets to that part. Last thing in
We can insulate it and make it a firewall, and it'll be just dang near sound. And then then we can fix an area in there. We'll come fix an area in there. Keep it to come and do what they need to do as far as the assessment's going to be, and take care of all of that.
It's done.
At one time. But I don't think we can get it done fast enough to just
Listen to it. Good to me.
No, I don't have as much as last time, so.
Stretch to that.
Sir said that was not me.
The contract.
Robin Sage is going on.
Yeah.
Robin Sage.
What's that?
That is the final exercise for the Green Berets.
Oh, ready,
Ready.
ready.
And
Bird ready.
Disco National Forest is where they do part of it, and they refuel at West Jefferson.
We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order for Monday, August the 19th, 2024. Have a pledge of allegiance and then a moment of silence. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation, God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Remain standing for a moment, please. Thank you. Be seated. For the agenda today, we have three items to add. That one of them or two of them would be under the March 4th minutes, March 18th minutes. Then on the back page, request for the closed session to include number 3, to consult with an attorney. With those three changes, I would need a motion in a second.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion in a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Thank you. Motion carries 5-0. Approval of the minutes, approval of the agenda is carried 5-0. Thank you. Now I need a motion on the minutes to include March the 4th and March the 18th for approval.
So moved.
Second.
A motion in a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Thank you. Motion carries 5-0. Under public comments, is there anyone wishing to speak? I don't see anybody signed up, but now's your chance if anybody would like to speak. Seeing no movement and hearing no volunteers, I'll close the public comments at this time. First up is the consent agenda. Rita, do you have anything special on it to add, or are there any questions from the board? If not, we'll
Motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
got a motion in a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Moving right along, presentation to the board, finance update, Finance Officer April Ham.
Good morning. I'm gonna give the update for fiscal year 23-24. Year-to-date revenue $21,191,040.90. Year-to-date expenditures, $20,055,466.21. And our approved budget for last fiscal year was $20,083,788. But I wanted to include this morning all the budget amendments that have been done for last fiscal year. So actually, our amended general fund budget for the year is $21,138,860. The bank balance as of 6/30/24, checking account $10,909,441.43. The savings account as of 6/30, $12,998,186.56, with a total of $23,907,627.99. And then we have represented 1 year ago and 2 years ago, taking into consideration currently the revenues and expenditures, because we have not completed all of the end of year journal entries. Our net financials currently are $1,135,574.69 that potentially will be added to our fund balance. Any questions about that portion of the report?
Any questions?
Okay.
Carry on.
The sales tax report looks a little different this morning because we have received May and June in the current fiscal year, but those year-end journal entries have not been completed yet. So you have the supporting documentation behind this report, but the local option, we have received for the fiscal year $1,360,398.48. And then the additional quarter cent local option, $384,331.91. And you do have the supporting documentation behind this report.
Questions?
Okay.
Thank you.
And
Go ahead.
for the current fiscal year, actually, Robin Hamilton, our Assistant Finance Officer, she's going to start the report for the current fiscal year if the board has any questions.
On up, Robin. Morning.
Good morning, Commissioners, Mr. Chairman. The year-to-date revenue is $1,934,316.38. The year-to-date expenditures are $3,005,689.71. Our approved budget is $21,407,775. The bank balance as of this morning was for checking $10,412,518.04. The savings was $13,029,622.37. The bank balance as of 8/21/23, the check-in was $14,617. $14,617,447.62, and the savings was $5,177,844.55. Do you have any questions?
Any questions?
No.
Hearing none.
Thank you.
Good, thank you. Okay, moving right along. Facilities update, David Spicer.
Mr. Chairman, Board, thank you and good morning. Today we have quite a bit going on, so I'll try to make it. I'm gonna make it brief. So the courthouse, we are underway with our renovations. As you've been able to see, that some of the windows have been taken out and boarded up. so that we could make sure that everything was going to go according to plan. We are still waiting on the contractor there to get the windows in, and then he'll begin putting those windows in as they become available. They are painting the courthouse right now on the outside. So you'll see a lift. They've got part of 18 closed right now. So about a half a day today to paint that side off the courthouse. So that side will be completed, and then they'll get the rest of the painting done accordingly. So that's underway. We also are in the process of, or the contractor will be in the process of taking care of the steps out front and the sidewalk. That's going to be somewhere in the next week or two to get started on that. So they're going to be able to go ahead and take care of that while we got good weather. And all those things will be a lot better once they are completed. We had drawings come in for the boiler system, what they plan to do with that, and the boiler system, how it's going to be vented, how it's going to be done with the pumps and all those things to take place, and the replacements of those in the courthouse itself. So those things are underway. The jail, if you'll notice, if you ride by, you'll see the front of the jail is getting a facelift. So that project is underway. They have the metal studs already in, so they're fixing to work on getting that completed. So they'll be a little bit different. It'll be designed a little bit differently, but it'll look good once we get it completed. The transfer facility, TRC is on schedule. So we have had a meeting with them. They have sent back a site plan. We have everything in place for the design and the project there that needs to take place. So that is going very good. They are working well with us and we with them. So we have a good personal and professional relationship with them now. So that's going according to schedule. We are going to be taking some time to repair the floor at the transfer facility. For some of the metal is in need of being replaced. So we're going to have to replace that in order to continue using it. So we have very little choice in that, but that'll take place probably next week, one evening. So we'll take care of those things. We had 3.56 tons of commingle, 5.87 tons of cardboard, 9.96 tons of scrap metal, which yielded the county $2,007. So still, that's going very well. The kitchen is still yet doing good, so everything's going well there. Everything's just fine between them and the jail, and everything is good. So the animal control for today, we had 2 that we assisted the sheriff's department, 6 in livestock, 7 well checks. We had 19 dogs and or cats picked up. We had 17 running at large. We had 1 bite that had to be quarantined. We trapped 6 with a total time of 132 hours, 58 calls, and 809 miles traveled. So that's my report, and I'll answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions? John, go ahead.
I take it with the economics that we've got going right now, you're getting a lot of abandons. Is that your running walls?
We are getting some of that. Yes. There's a couple right now that we're working on. Not sure where that is as of today, but there's a few of those that's being done. People leaving out and not taking their animals with them. Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I've got a couple on, when you mentioned the courthouse, you talked about the cement sidewalks that
Yes.
go from I guess, the ground
steps.
level up.
Yes, the steps and the sidewalk. Yes.
What about the rock wall?
The rock wall will remain intact. The rock wall will not be damaged or, well, I say that, and sure enough, something will happen. But we're gonna do our best not to damage the rock wall, and the rock wall will remain the same. If there's anything that's loose or needs to be repaired on that rock wall, there has been provisions made to get stuff that match. So that's gonna be done and taken care of there too.
Okay, so the facade of the rocks,
Yeah,
where some of them are falling out, where some of the, I guess, cap cement is broken, that will all be repaired.
it will repair that.
And that will go all the way down to what I call the old Alleghany office,
That next
that
set of steps.
steps.
Yes, that next set of steps.
So all of that will be fixed,
Yes.
okay? That was the main thing. And I was just curious, has the flagpole been ordered for the library?
I know that they was working on that and they had gotten some prices. I can't say for sure that it has been ordered. I only assume that it has since they got prices.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you, David.
Okay, thank you.
That concludes section B. Moving right along to general business. This is for information. The first item is Lowe's food request for release, Rita Miller. That's page 24 through 29.
Good morning.
Morning.
So in your packet, I have given you a copy of the letter that we received from Lowe's Food, as well as related statutes regarding release of tax bills. So this is a 2017 tax bill. We never stopped trying to collect. And when Mr. Chandler came to work, he was going through some delinquent bills, and he noticed that the address on this Lowe's food bill just didn't look like the address it would be, and that's based on his previous retail experience. And so he reached out to someone he knew, and sure enough, the address on the Lowe's food bill went to a corporation. Many businesses have corporations that handle all their listings and their billings and things like that. And that's where this bill was going. We had sent delinquent notices. We had even tried a bank account attachment to no avail. So Jeff reached out to Lowe's once he got the correct information, and they submitted in their request for a release because the company they had been using when they were here in Alleghany County had not forwarded them any of the information that we had sent, the delinquent notices, things of that. So they're requesting that they be able to pay the tax that's due, and this would have included the town of Sparta because that's when we were collecting for the town, but that the interest be released. So I gave you the information, 105, 380, and 381 about the ability to release interest. Statutorily, the only interest that the board is allowed to release would be on a discovery bill. This is not a discovery bill. This is the tax on the equipment that they had in Alleghany County on January the 1st of 2017.
Questions? Go ahead, John.
Since we cannot waive the interest, will you be notifying them the reasons why we will be taking that action?
I always give them the information from the statute. Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Okay.
So you're going to go ahead and be in contact with them and let them know what the law is.
Well, I have to have a board decision, but I can wait until the next meeting
Yeah.
for that decision. But yes.
So Daniel, that'll be on for action.
Yep.
Anything else?
No, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Have a good day.
Moving right along to item number 2, Commissioner request John Irwin, brief from Building Committee on high school repairs. John?
Yes, during our discussion with the Board of Education, we were informed that there was $22 million. I believe that was the figure that was used of maintenance that was needed at the high school. which came as a surprise to me. Now, at the first of the year, we were told that we needed to submit notes on our committee meetings, but none exist between the building committee and the Board of Education concerning any maintenance needs up there at the high school. Has the Board of Education advised you of these maintenance requirements or needs?
Never mention of any $22 million of repairs.
So this has come out of the air. During the budget process, since you were both on the budget committee, did they mention their maintenance needs at that time?
Mr. Carter?
The only thing mentioned during the budgeting period was the capital outlay funds that they receive each year, which go towards a number of projects that they have identified. There was nothing in any type whatsoever identifying $22 million worth of capital outlay needs.
No one advised either committee that the health department was threatening to condemn the kitchen because of the drainage problems?
No. I mean,
Thank you. Appreciate it. I take it you're as surprised as we were whenever that figure was brought up.
I don't think anybody has heard or had heard that $22 million number until that presentation.
Thank you. Very enlightening. That's all. That was the only question I had.
is there any other follow-up questions? Greg, Timmy, Michelle? Is that it, John?
That's it. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Moving right along to item number 3, John Irwin, bid requirements for new high school construction, page 31.
Right. Yes, Mr. Chair. One of the things during our discussion that was come up, I brought it up that North Carolina statute states that we have to have 3 bids whenever a project is over 300,000, if memory serves me correct. Now, we have been told by the Board of Education that they met that requirement by extending the bid date. Well, I don't believe that that requirement was met by extending the bid date, but I'm told that that is a legal matter, and I'm not a lawyer, so I will accept that. But that is a North Carolina statute. I believe that the county commissioners can advise the Board of Education that in this matter, and perhaps in future matters, that we will not commit the county to any financial obligations unless 3 bids are submitted. That would be our requirement as a board. I am hearing and I am discussing with quite a few people the dissatisfaction that there was only 1 bid that was submitted for the new high school. To me, that's unsatisfactory. I think that we need at least 3 bids before we commit the county to a financial obligation on this. I would like to know what the feelings are of the board members to see if we should take action in that regard.
With that being said, Heather, would you care to answer, please?
So that question was posed to the attorney for the school board. And he did provide both of the publications that were required by the statute. The first advertisement took place in Winston, in the Winston-Salem Journal. Proper time, went by. It was properly advertised because we have a copy of it. When the time expired, they had 1 bid. Well, statute requires that they have more than 1. At that time, they had to re-advertise, not extend the bid. They had to re-advertise. So they did re-advertise, only this time they advertised in the Alleghany News. So we do have a copy of that. It extended the date for which bids would be allowed, but it wasn't just an extension. It was a re-advertisement as required, and we have a copy of that also. So the statute has been complied with in that regard. I just think that when people are talking about it, there's this extension that's mentioned, and that was just the time period. So it's confusing, and it makes it seem like maybe it wasn't advertised twice. And it was advertised twice. So we did get that information from the attorney for the school board. So we do have that. And if anybody wants to review it, I have copies of that.
Mr. Chair, I believe my point has been made.
Thank you.
How many construction companies in Alleghany County could fulfill a $70 million project? Now, this may meet the legal requirement, the legal definitions, but I've got another judgment that I have to make, and that's called the smell test. And this doesn't smell well. Now, I believe that this board can advise that we will not entertain obligating the county unless 3 bids are made. Now, they've met state requirements. I believe that the county can place some requirements on this also.
Comment. Go ahead, Michelle.
I had the same question, but I did get some more understanding of this. And my understanding of this from the school officials as well as Mr. Johnson was that you don't generally garner bids from an ad per se. When an ad is placed in any newspaper, any publication in the state, there are companies that pick up these advertisements and post them on job boards. That is where the bids come from, is on these job boards. So that satisfied my curiosity about that, because that's where the real bidding and the construction companies see these, is from these job boards. They don't peel through the newspapers and look for jobs. I also asked the question, why did we only get 1 bid? And that was also satisfied to my, what I needed to know about it. I was told that because this is a remodel job, so there's a lot of tearing down, there's a lot of waste that has to be taken off. If we were just a piece of flat ground building a brand new school, we would have all kinds of bidders. But because this is a remodel job, it's not as attractive to construction companies as a brand new school would be. And also the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction, lottery monies, there's all kinds of money flowing out for new schools right now. So if you have construction companies in Raleigh, in Charlotte, in Greensboro, that they can go right in their neighborhood and build new schools, they're going to do that. They're not going to drive up to Sparta to build a school, especially a remodel job. So that satisfied my curiosity about those questions. Just a little bit of insight from what I found out.
Kimmy?
Yeah, I think far as if the state feels like this process is adequate, then, that's the most important thing to me. And yes, I've heard some of the same information that Michelle has talked about, but I don't want to go down the road of starting to micromanage a board of education. I mean, we've got enough to do here now to try to figure out what we got to do with what we got to deal with. But if this is inadequate and we have got that information from the legal system, I'm good with it.
Anything else, Heather?
The last piece of information that we did receive was from DPI, and DPI has said that they approve the plans. So there was an email, and I forwarded that. So I don't think there's an issue with them saying that they can start construction. I think that there had been a question about that too. So, and that came, it wasn't,
Friday.
it wasn't Catherine Truitt. It was someone else with DPI who had said, because I think one of our concerns too about, not just the bid and how the plans are going, was that DPI had to approve the plans, and they had not done so up until one of our other meetings. Well, they did put in writing that no ground could be broken on the school. So DPI had said that they had agreed with what plans had been submitted. So that was sent on, I think it was Friday. I can't remember.
I think that was a moot point anyway, because the award letter advised that they could begin construction.
Well, but we had an additional
Right.
concern, which was, there has to be approval from DPI and from DEQ, a permit issued. And if you don't have your plans approved by DPI, then you're not doing anything going forward. Well, they had responded, actually it came through the school board's attorney, saying that they did approve those plans. Yeah, I forwarded it.
Also, on that DPI approval, you cannot get a building permit until that's approved. So
DPI or DEQ?
I think it was DPI that sent the message, not DEQ yet. I don't know if I've heard anything from DEQ.
DEQ is what we will be discussing later on the agenda for the board to consider allowing the school to begin construction on the property that's identified as commissioner's property. And that has to do with the septic and the various infrastructure.
And if I may, Mr. Chair, just reading from the April 30th of 2024 letter awarding, notifying that we've received the $12 million supplemental grant. I quote, "You may execute contracts based upon the total grant award of $59 million and begin construction prior to fiscal year 24-25. So we've had authorization all along, since April the 30th, in my opinion.
Heather, anything to add? I see you're looking for something.
I just wanted to see that email and then be able to re-forward it to you if I need to. But otherwise, no, I'm good.
I just, for some reason, thought that I read DPI was still looking at the plans, but construction could begin without their final approval. So I
think,
found a little strange.
well, wording wise, I think you may be correct, and I'm just simplifying or oversimplifying the process that they go through. But they've given the go ahead that it's okay. They're not going to revoke it later on, as far as we know. It's an odd process. However, they allow construction to begin. So there may still be some review or some stamp or something else that comes along the way, but basically they've given their go ahead.
I believe part of the confusion that we're running into, if you will look at page 6 of the 2023 supplemental grant application, and I quote, "School planning design review is required. Design documents must be submitted at appropriate intervals during design, punctuation dash, SD, DD, and CD. Neither the LEA nor the county shall invest any funds in construction of the project until the review process is completed." So I believe that we're in conflict here. One side saying one thing, and it's a state level, and the other side is saying something else, disregard. So if we've got something that covers us, I don't see why we don't start.
Give Heather a minute to look through her emails.
I'm good. I think I've answered that question. So I'm just looking for you just to make sure, but otherwise I don't have anything else to add.
reading different emails that we've got through this process, it seems confusing to me that on one hand, one state law or sessions law says one thing, DPI on the other hand says something else. But everything that Heather has gotten in the last few days appears to, DPI is given the go-ahead. So I don't know what else the board can do. I think we've looked and looked
Well,
at trying to do the right thing. But this project, as soon as possible, needs to begin. But there again, I think that it all depends on legal answers, either coming from the school board or from their attorney and in hand coming from DPI. If there's nothing else on this item, we'll go ahead and move on to general business, section D. And this is for, all these items are for action. And it looks like there's 11 of them. So first off is the memo of understanding for security and safety, Alleghany County Business Development Center. Mr. Carter.
Chairman, members of the board, on pages 32 through 34, you have the agreement that was previously discussed between the original BDC board and the county to provide security to this facility. I trust that each one of you have had the opportunity to read through it. I do think that on the signatory page, I do think it would be prudent to have Heather's signature on there as well, identifying that she is approved at the form. But any other changes I don't feel are necessary. I would recommend asking the board to go ahead and approve the signatures to be placed on the agreement accordingly.
Motion to approve with the addition of the review by the county attorney.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries 5-0 with that change, Mr. Carter. Moving right along to item number 2, Alleghany County EMS ambulance bids. David, you're up again.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Board. So at our previous meeting, I did offer up 3 bids from Elite, from Start Line, and from Emergency Transportation Associates. The lowest bid being from ETA at $185,273.79. So at this time, I'd asked what the pleasure of the board is concerning these 3 bids for ambulance.
Just a question before we start. I'm just looking, prices valid for 30 days.
Mhm.
We've gone past that.
I think
30
we're still good.
days.
Yeah, I have talked to Tim Pennington, and I also, he has talked to Eric Vogel, and I think we're still good.
Still good.
I think so, yes.
Okay, you've heard a request. We need a motion and a second.
Motion to approve contingent upon them maintaining the price quoted.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? Likewise, motion carries 5-0 with that caveat that the time is still valid.
Price still the same?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Item number 3, landowner builders agreement, Alleghany County High School. Michael?
That's on page 47 of your agenda. Also, this was previously provided to you. And what this is, as I mentioned moments ago, this is the form that the county can fill out to satisfy DEQ questioning of providing infrastructure on the parcel of land that is actually in the county's name. It identifies that. It identifies the engineering group doing it. It also allows them to do the actual construction as well. So I think it's in order. We do have Heather's approval at the bottom, so I would recommend the board approve this for however the school situation turns out.
Heather, anything to add? Okay, any questions? We need a motion and a second.
Motion to approve.
A motion and a second. Daniel, you okay?
Yeah.
All those, any questions? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed likewise? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. That's just one more hurdle that we had to go through to get this school project going. And we're trying to do everything legally and in a proper timeline. Item number 4, job description, Deputy Tax Collector April Ham, page 48 through 50.
And this is the proposed deputy tax collector changes that Rita would like to see in this job description, just planning for Missy's retirement upstairs in the tax office. Can I answer any questions about the proposal?
Any questions from the board, comments? Need a motion and a second.
Motion to approve it's the job description of deputy tax collector.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. April, budget amendment number 1. Go ahead.
Okay, this is for general fund for this current year, fiscal year 24-25. We have a surplus in our in-chip reserve, the North Carolina health insurance pool. We're going to receive that money back into the budget. We received this information at the end of the budget process that we did have a surplus. So we budgeted for this. So we just need to amend that budget. And I mistakenly left off the revenue line. So that line is 10-398-1700-000. And that will be represented on the budget amendment that the chairman and Mr. Carter will sign. Any questions?
Any questions or comments? If not, I need a motion in a second.
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion in a second. Daniel? All those, any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries 5-0. Item number 6, budget amendment for transportation.
So your next budget amendment is actually for Alleghany in Motion, our public transportation system. This is, again, you saw one at the last meeting for a van that was not received last year, but is going to be received this year. This is for 4 more vans that were not received last year that will be received in this current fiscal year.
Questions, comments? Need a motion in a second.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion in a second. Danielle? Any questions? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries 5-0. Budget amendment for the general fund number 21, detention center inmate canteen expenses, page 53.
And this is your last general fund budget amendment from last fiscal year, number 21, and it's for inmate canteen expenses. And you have seen this before you a couple of other times. So. And it does
Questions?
represent your amended budget amount at the bottom. I will point that out of that $21,138,860. I'm sorry.
Any questions? Need a motion in a second.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and second. Danielle, you ready? Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Item number 8, line item transfer for recreation of uniforms. April Ham, page 54.
And this is for an outstanding invoice in the Recreation Department. As you remember, Alleghany Cares actually provided a grant last year in the current fiscal year. This is just to finish up paying for those uniforms for last fiscal year in the Recreation Department. And the money is available.
Any questions? This came up last year, a continuation. Need a motion and a second. Got a motion and a second. Danielle's shaking her head yes. So any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed likewise? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Line item 9, transfer for DSS for in-home aid and special adoption assistance, page 55.
And this is a line item transfer in the current fiscal year. We do have the availability to do this. We actually, in the animal control budget, we budgeted for a cost that we thought was going to come out of the current fiscal year, but we ended up paying that in the last fiscal year. So we're going to use that excess money in that animal control to budget these two in DSS. Any questions about that?
Any questions? Need a motion in a second to approve.
Motion to approve the line item transfer for DSS and in-home care aid and special adoption.
Second. Got a motion in a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed likewise? Motion carries 5-0. Item number 10, transfer JCPC yearly match funds, April Ham, page 56.
And again, we have the availability in that same line for JCPC, and this is just budgeting for the county's 20% match for 2 programs with JCPC.
Any questions? Need a motion in a second.
Motion to approve.
Second.
And Neil says yes. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed likewise? Motion carries 5-0. Duncan Recreation Pool, obsolete public hearing, Heather Klein.
All right, so I think we've talked about this multiple times. The Duncan Recreation Facility was damaged in the earthquake and damaged to a point where we're not going to be able to go back and just fix it. And we talked about a new pool, and that's still kind of out there. We don't know exactly what's going to happen with that. However, because the Duncan Recreation Facility is under a grant that is good through 2034, I think it is. We have to declare that pool location obsolete in order to get out from under the requirements of reporting to one of the representatives, which is Trey Fouché for the state. And he's given us information in order to be able to do that and move forward. And the first requirement is going to be to have a public hearing to declare the pool obsolete. We have to do this first before then we follow through with the rest of the requirements, which is then to send a letter declaring the pool obsolete and to basically ask them to relieve us of the obligations for reporting, which I've prepared, but we can't send in until we actually have the public hearing. So we do have, I don't know if it's been, was it included? Oh, you gave it out separately. So you should have as a separate part of your packet, the actual notice, which will run in the paper Same requirements where we would run any notice needs to be run twice before the public hearing. And we've set that at our next meeting. Yep.
Which is a Tuesday, don't forget, because of the holiday.
Right. So the public hearing would take place before our meeting starts, and see if anybody in the public has any questions about what's going to take place and, what the goal is of the declaration for that pool facility. So any questions about that?
So the public hearing would be September the 2nd?
Third.
That's our next scheduled meeting. And that's a nighttime meeting that gives the public plenty of opportunity to come and express their concerns or wishes. So we need a motion and is there any discussion on this? We need a motion and a second to publicize this for a public hearing.
Make a motion to publicize it for a public hearing.
Second.
We're just on hold for a minute.
Beginning of the regular meeting, which begins at 6 p.m.
We're
That
not-
makes sense.
Yeah, I just think we ought to, I think the motion should include the date and time. That way, if anyone,
Okay, the motion would include September the 2nd. That is
Third.
the
September 3rd.
Tuesdays, it's on Tuesday because the 2nd's a holiday.
Okay. Vacation days. That's September the 3rd, a Tuesday. And our meeting that night starts at 6 o'clock. And this will be on the agenda. Public hearing is usually up
It'd be the
very,
first thing.
very first thing. So it is September the 3rd, which is a Tuesday. Need a motion and a second.
We already
Oh.
did, we just need to add.
Okay, I'm sorry. Just add that into the approved motion. That,
Who was
the
the
best,
second on that? Sorry. Greg had the first. Who was the second? Timmy? Okay, thank you.
that's the best I can understand for section D, 11 items. Now we move on to county manager's comments.
Mr. Chairman, I'll start today by going back to your financial report that was provided to you. And I just want to point out, if you look at the one, I think that April talked about, your bank balance, 6/30/24 is 23,907,627.99. And as a comparison, your bank balance in 6/20/2022 was 13,745,233.73. So $10 million in 2 years isn't that bad. I'll just put it that way. So I wanted to point that out and appreciate everyone that had a role in that. That's not something you hear of very often. I'll put it that way.
Well, I think those numbers are staggering, to say the least. And like it's been said many times before, is through your leadership, but it was also all the department heads in the county government realizing what had to be done to make changes, and those changes were made, and it's quite evident. So there again, I'd like to thank the finance department, all the department heads, employees, and especially Mr. Carter. Thank you for that.
Next item I have is I think David Spicer alluded to, is the number of projects the county's got going on. And, you know, when you look at your financial report, those aren't things you can physically see. You know, that's just a piece of paper that tells you whatever the numbers are. We're now getting into projects where you will actually see a difference. And I think, as we continue to phase projects in, I think it's important to identify that, because this is great. This is a great piece of paper. It's a great showing. We're happy that it's there, and now we're being able to utilize some of the monies to make improvements to our facilities. So everyone will now be able to witness some of that firsthand as those projects continue on. Third thing, I say this just about every meeting, I'll say it again, but as the chairman alluded to, we have a great and dedicated staff here at the county, and very proud of each and every one of them and what they've done in the time that I've been here. I tell them all the time, a couple years ago, I told them, we need to set the bar. And now I tell them we have. Alleghany County wasn't heard of very much around the state. We're small. We don't have a lot of things that just pop out. But now people look at Alleghany County as models on how they can improve their own operations. And I just think that is worthy of mentioning, and just a testament to the departments here and the commissioners for making those changes. The last thing that I'll mention, earlier in the year, there was a lot of conversation about my agreement with the county. And it was a lot of conversation, I guess. It was probably the chatter of the woods, I guess, in some areas. But that agreement does come to an end date, October 31st of this year. And I am telling and informing the board and anyone else that at this time, I do not intend to extend that current agreement. Now, how the board moves forward with that, I will certainly be a part of if they so wish. But the agreement that I have in place, I will allow that to expire October 31st. So that's all the comments I have.
Thank you. Moving right along, we'll go to county commissioners, and I'll start with Greg today.
I just think we've got a lot going on in the county right now. Everybody in the county works good at getting it done, and I appreciate everything they do.
And Timmy?
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to add to the conversation about the budget and where we're at in our bank accounts and everything. I know we're in this discussion about, trying to figure out something, how to move forward with the school process. But something a lot of people need to be reminded about is, if we weren't in this financial situation, there would be no discussion if it was like it was 4 or 5 years ago. LGC would just laugh at us if we asked to borrow money. So I think we all need to keep that in perspective, like why we've gotten here. And now we do have, we're in a place where we are able to do some of these projects that's been in bad need. And we are being able to at least have a discussion with the school board. So if we wasn't here, if the things wasn't put into place to get to this day, there would be no discussion. So I think everybody needs to think about that also. And part of that too, back to our employees. I know we have another picnic coming up to show appreciation to them also, but I don't think, I know Michael does a real good job of recognizing them and appreciating them and explaining to the county what they do and how much it is needful for us to have the good employees with good worth ethic. And without them, to be a part of this budgeting process, even every single year, even now, when we're in a lot better shape financially, when we go through our budgeting process, each department still runs a tight ship. I mean, because they've lived through that process, and that's very much appreciated. And I think county people should know that also. But yes, I just I'm tickled with like the things we're able to do and move forward with some of these projects that would needs to be taken care of. And I see a lot of positives ahead.
Michelle?
I just want to give a shout out today to one of our county departments, the Department of Social Services. A lot of people don't realize how hard their job is and the things that they do to step up and go above and beyond. I'm on the board with Social Services, and there's, some cases that I can't talk about, but, these ladies, they spend a lot of time away from their families. They get children in that have, lice and ringworm, and they have to change diapers, and they gladly do this to help these children out. And, they're at the hospital comforting children, and they're really making differences in people's lives. So I just want to give them a big shout out, because a lot of people don't really recognize their sacrifice and what they have to take home with them every day. So I also want to say that, that's probably the worst news I've heard for Alleghany County in a long time is your contract being up, because you've done a lot for this county, Mr. Carter, and with your leadership, it's going to be a great loss. So I hope that I hope there's maybe some reconsideration or something, because we have a lot of irons in the fire right now. So, but thank you for all that you've done.
John?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to echo the sentiments about your contract. I believe and I've expressed it many times, how I feel towards the job that you have done. And I have told you that I would wait until the day that you left before I would bring out the way you have been treated in this county and the way people have done you. And I will hold to that. I will tell you now, it will be interesting, because ugly's going to be put on the table. I don't blame you. I would have walked out long before now. As I've told you, you would have had 2 job offers before you got to the county line. I understand. I've been there. I regret it. It is going to be a loss to this county, and it's going to be felt more than we realize right now, sir. Over the weekend, I went to the drawdown Saturday night, and I was asked by several people questions concerning the new high school. At church yesterday, I was again asked questions concerning the process for the local high school. As I contemplated yesterday afternoon and I went through the documents that I have, I felt that maybe that it has come a time to where, as Paul Harvey would say, let's get to the rest of the story. On March the 10th, the original grant was requested. Now that original grant, surprisingly, whenever I reviewed it again, on page 8, it stated that the grant request was for $47,016,000. The $16,000 was for plans. On September the 21st, we received the award letter telling us that we had received a grant of $47 million. And of course, there were things that we had to agree to, which it was signed by Bill Osborne and at that time the supervisor, the superintendent, which was Mr. Beasley. On October the 18th of 2023, the plans were presented to Alleghany County so that we could look over them, and then they were returned to the Board of Education supervisor. Realizing that we didn't have enough money, a supplemental grant was requested on March the 6th of 2024. On April the 30th of 2024, the awards letter authorized construction and said that we had a grand total of $59 million. Now, I believe where the thoughts came in that we had to have construction started by September of 2024 is the requirement that you've got to begin construction in 2 years. So in August, we were presented, got to get it going. So here we go. And we started questioning. Well, we found out that supplemental grant, whenever it was awarded, reset the clock. Now we have 2 years from April the 30th of 2024 to begin. Now, if we turn a shovel's worth of dirt, we've begun. As far as we got to have it finished in 5 years, and we've got 2 years in August or September that's already passed, we've got to get going because lo and behold, it's going to take 3 years to build this building. We found out that there's no timeline that requires us to finish in 5 years. As the discussion went on and we started looking at things, as you have heard today, whenever we questioned the bids, the first request for bids went to the Winston-Salem Journal, second to the Alleghany News. And yes, bids are posted on a bulletin board. I'll call it a bulletin board where anyone can look at it. Now, I've asked a couple of contractors, and my question was, why would nobody be interested in this? And the response was, it was not at risk. Now, as I understand it, and I'm not in the construction business, I was in the deconstruction business. At risk means we're going to give you a bid, and if it costs more than our bid, at risk means that we are going to lose money on this. Am I wrong or incorrect? Am I incorrect? Is that the way it is?
For the most part, yes.
Well, in layman's terms,
Yes.
let's get it down to Barney style. Well, I can understand that. Whenever the bid went out, it was not at risk. So we've got a bid in. And if something doesn't go according to the plans or whatever, they can ask for a modification or change order, correct? As I looked at the bid, one thing that was glaring to me was there was not a contractor for the running of the internet and telephone lines through the building. There was for an electrician. Now, why do I bring this up? Whenever I worked for Coastal Electronics, I sold a system to the New Hanover Regional Medical Center. And boy, were we surprised. Whenever I figured the installation cost, I had failed to figure in the cost for going through firewalls. If you are going through firewalls, it requires a license before a company can do that installation. The wiring must be fireproof or meet a fire code regulation. where it goes through the wall, you must insulate it with a material that is fire resistant or fireproof. That isn't in there. That's one change order. And I have priced and looked at the type of wiring that would be required, and it is 4 times the category 6, which is the most expensive and best computer line that does not go through a firewall. Well, this may or may not apply. I'll let the inspection department consider that. But if it is, that's a change order and will be over $1 million. $1 million. So that means that that price that we have is not set in stone. So I worry about that. Next thing that I look at is the high school typical space profile, which is available on the Department of Public Instruction website. Each commissioner has received a copy of this, and if the public would like to see this document, it'll be available at the county office, and you can get a copy of it. High school, 9 through 12, typical space profile. Number of students, the lowest number of students that they have in here is 600. One of the things that stands out to me is arts and education. Now, this is typical profile. For the band, they set aside 2,550 square feet. Our current plans call for 5,000 square feet, and we don't even have a band, but we're looking for a band director. The admin portion of our current plans are over 4,000 square feet. Typical profile is 2,540 feet, and I added 150 square feet for the extra office for the assistant principal. Now, we have 426 enrolled students at Sparta High School, according to the U.S. News and World Report ranking in 2024, which is available online. I will be glad to provide a copy to anyone that wants it. Typical high school for an enrollment of 600 is 119,000 square feet plus. The plans that we have in front of us and we are discussing is, I believe, 170,000 square feet. And that is for a school that has a ranking in the state of North Carolina of 451st out of 576 schools, with a math proficiency rate of 26%, reading proficiency of 28%, science proficiency of 59%, and a graduation rate of 88%. Now, I do this to show that we've got a lot to go. And I will tell you this, a building does not teach students. Whenever I look back on my days in Sparta High School, Sparta Elementary School, we had a lot of classes. As a matter of fact, I believe Bobby and I went to a classroom that was built by the WPA in 1935, 1936. And Joe B. Cox and John Miller's room. We had good teachers, real good. Now, I've questioned some of the things that we have gone through the process leading towards the building of this high school. And I will be frank with you. Whenever you advertise in the Winston-Salem Journal for the initial bids and the follow-up bids in the Alleghany News, to me, that is, you're meeting the legal requirements, but the smell requirements for Johnny Irwin just are not met. I want it built, but I do not want to build a Taj Mahal so that people can put a bronze plaque on the wall with their name on it. I want a facility that will meet our current and future needs and will meet the requirements that these students have and give them the opportunity for the best education possible. Now, if you agree with me, you need to get involved. School board got involved. They sent out a robocall. They posted information that was incorrect on social media, and we caught the flack. So if you question like I do, you need to let us know. Now, your Board of Commissioners, Board of Education need to receive those phone calls. I've gotten phone calls. I've also gotten emails. I've been questioned on the street. I've been questioned in the grocery store. I've been questioned at church. And I'm going to tell you what I think. I may be wrong, and if I'm wrong, I will tell you, but I don't believe I am. We didn't know anything about school maintenance until this new high school came about, and then all of a sudden we got $22 million of maintenance requirements that we've got to do. Yet during the budget process and during meetings with the building committee, they didn't exist then, or they were not of sufficient need that it was brought up to those two committees. It makes you wonder. Now, the other thing that we've got to take in consideration if we enter into this, we will probably forget about the sports complex. Same thing with the swimming pool, because there is a limited financial ability of this county. You don't realize it. The general public does not realize it. But we have people that come into the tax department at the end of the month, and they take what money they have left and they pay it on their income tax, on their property tax, simply because they do not want their name to appear in that paper. In Alleghany County, we have 24% of our population that does not own a computer. We have a high population between 45 and up. Whenever you get to 65, 62, 65, you're going on fixed income. You've got to think of them. So, once again, I will appeal to you. I will appeal to you. General public, let us know your thoughts, because what we are going to do is going to affect you. You can call the board members. Our phone numbers are on the website, and we're in the phone book, or at least I am. You have an opportunity during public comments to make your feelings known. If you don't like to speak in public, send an email, send a letter. I've gotten letters. So, but let us know. Now, this high school is going to be built. I will tell you that. I am not going to let $59 million slip through the fingers of Alleghany County. That is almost twice what our county budget is. We need it. That high school has lasted over 55 years. Now think about it. When that high school was built and occupied in 1968, I was in the last graduating class from the old high school, 1967. A computer was in a room. There is more computing power in your cell phone than a lot of computers that were being utilized in business and government at that time. Things have changed. That building could not change, but only so much, because we could not envision the requirements that were there. Now we know that we have got to bring this school up to par. Like I said, we need to build wisely. If you look at this, the average of a 600 populated high school in the state of North Carolina, 119,000 square feet plus, as opposed to 170,000 square feet. If you take the cost per square foot, we can build it for about $57 million. Rough estimate. And the county doesn't have to borrow money. We can look forward to a sports complex and other things that we need. To do this, we must make an educated commitment. This is why I said that we, as a county, should require a minimum of 3 bids before we obligate this county. Board is not amenable to that? Well and good. I can understand that. Decisions we make are going to affect this county for years. If we borrow $15 million, we don't know. That is a long time. We haven't even finished paying for the last expansion of the schools. I believe we still have outstanding mortgages for that. So, public, let us know. Now, we're going to do something. What we do is going to depend on you. And the last thing that the public can do, November, you vote. That is the ultimate statement from the public. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I apologize for going over my time limit if I indeed did.
Thank you for those comments. Few things that come to mind, especially talking about Mr. Carter. I can remember back to the day that he started and letter that we had already, the threatening letter that we had already received from the state treasurer's office that they had the authority to come in and take over the county government. That was an eye opener, I think, to the board at that time. Our fund balance was 11.3 in that range. Mr. Carter started communicating with the treasurer's office, and he asked for a few months to turn things around. With that first budget year, we were looking a little bit better. The second year, it was unreal where he had taken us from 11.3 up into the 20s. A few years later, now we're in the 60s. And like Timmy said, if it hadn't been for his leadership, there would be no discussion about this school, about us borrowing more money. We would be financially unable to do that. So I thank him for that, for his leadership. I look at when he came, I look at the morale of the county government, the employees, was probably as low as I'd ever seen it. There again, he asked for some time, and he turned that morale around to where we're at the height of employee satisfaction. And that spills over into what it does to the community, how our tax office works, how our sheriff's works, how DSS works. All of those had a positive impact on the entire county. And there again, that was through his leadership, which will be sorely missed. School project of 57 million plus, obviously that looks like there's a plus in it, will come to future. It may not happen today, may not happen tomorrow, but there's nobody in the county government, there's not one commissioner that I've heard say, we will not build that school. We will not utilize that lottery money because we have to have it. The school system is the future of the county. We need that school. A large part of it's going to be torn down, and we're going to have a brand new building, but it takes teachers, instructors to make a great school. And the building, it helps to have a nice, safe environment to work in. I just wish the commissioners had been a little bit more involved with the school board as to some of the design work, but that's in the past. We can't change that. I am not comfortable with one bid. John has mentioned it, and I think several others. It's disappointing that not more than one company was willing to bid, but that meets the state requirements apparently, and we have to go by what the state tells us is legal, and that's all this board has asked for the last few weeks, that we do things properly and be sure that everything is done in the proper way. And I think we're on that path, and that's going to happen, I hope, soon. I would like to see them up there digging right away, but we'll get all of our facts together. I think the school board still has a few questions to answer, and we've had a couple of very good, productive meetings recently with the school board and their attorneys, our attorneys, administration. I think that there was nothing but positive information that came out of that. And we have to work together. We don't work apart. It's easy to get a project done when everybody's on the same page. It's hard to get it done when there's two different notebooks that you're dealing out of. So I look forward here for the next several weeks getting more information presented to this board. As to Michael, I hope there's something that we can do to twist his arm a little. I don't know. This man's been through a lot in the last 5.5 years. He was in an automobile accident where actually, from what the doctors say and what happened, it's lucky that he's still here. They didn't at that time have a lot of hope for him. It wasn't long while he was still in intensive care and moved into another unit that he was back online communicating with the commissioners while he was still laying in the hospital bed. I really thank him. That's all I've got to say right now. With that being said, we have a request for closed session pursuant to GS 143-31811, closed session. Permitted purpose, item 6, to discuss personnel, item 3, to consult with an attorney. With that, I need a motion and a second to go into closed session.
We'll make that motion with stipulation that we have a 10-minute interval for the disbursement and replenishment of bodily fluids.
I'll second it.
Got a motion and a second in your discussion. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries 5-0. We will use this room for a closed session.